I know we both had a great 4th of July weekend. It wasn't all the way great though for me because it meant I went 4 consecutive days without talking about Jeremiah Fears. I feel like my body's like in remission after that, Riley. Like I need to get back to the stable condition here. Jeremiah Fears has been hooping. He's been playing basketball in this span after decommitting from Illinois and reopening his recruitment. He's just hooping. He's at this PH Grit Finals on the PH circuit. I have no idea what that is, but there's a lot of big name players there, and he's been incredible. Game 1, he had 20 points and 4 blocks as a little tiny little guard. I don't know why I called him a little tiny little guard. That seems disrespectful. But the next game, he went insane. 34 points, 5 assists, 2 steals. You can find some footage on this. By all accounts, Jeremiah has been, if not the best player, definitely one of the best players at this PH whatever circuit finals that it is. The videos I saw, the clips I saw are crazy. He had some step back threes from really, really deep. He had some pretty crazy dunks, some alley-oop passes. All in all, he's hooping. He looks good. And also his recruitment is quiet. It's been silent. We talked about how he tweeted about Kentucky before the weekend. Well, on, I think, Thursday, I think on the 4th of July, he tweeted out just a picture. No caption, just a picture of the USC Trojans logo. The Must Bus may have made some phone calls. Riley, what do you make of all this?
I love the content. I love it's so hard to beat tweeting out an image with no context, especially something if it's just a logo of a school. We don't know if it's just like, yo, Muss hit my line, or if it's I just talked to Musselman, or even if I silently committed to Eric Musselman and the USC Trojans. A1 content from Jeremiah Fears. Loved having him on our draft shows. Just a great interview as well. Great personality. Love his game as well. Just complete bucket. I don't want him to go to USC. I think USC is going to be really bad. I know there are some Big Ten viewers who have been predicting them to be in the top half of the conference. It's such, I get that Musselman is a mastermind of the transfer portal, always has been. That's how he made his living. That is how he made his name. But this roster feels so much like an island of misfit toys of just throw together a couple like 13 to 15 point per game scores and hope that it works out. It does not seem like the type of environment where you're going to see Jeremiah Fears just take off coming in as a reclass guard.
Yeah, I would just be scared about that. It's so volatile. Like I don't know that there's a more volatile landing spot in the country right now than like the guy who just was in charge of the Arkansas locker room last year at a new school in year 1, year 0 with 13 new players. And like we don't know. Some of these guys are good. Some of them might not be. I know a lot of people think St. Thomas is going to be incredible. Des Claude is definitely a good high major starter. I don't know outside of that if anything is going to work on this team. Like Terrence Williams, the Michigan wing, could be the 3rd best player on this team. Or maybe everybody else hits and Terrence Williams doesn't even play. I don't know. There's so many unknowns. But if you're Jeremiah, the thing has always been you want the ball. I don't even like. Are you getting the ball on a team that has Des Claude and St. Thomas? Would he start at point
Yeah,
guard at USC?
like Des Claude and St. Thomas are probably thinking they're coming in and taking 50% of the shots each, like
Yeah.
those are 2 ball dominant players. And I don't know. I would love the fit at Kentucky. That goes back to something we've talked about this whole offseason is they have a backcourt full of number 2 and number 3 options. Like if I was Mark Pope, I am offering Jeremiah Fears whatever it takes to get him in Lexington. I still want to see him go to your program. I know you and Carter hinted at that or teased out that idea. Like, because Greg, can you remind the people what does Dusty May do when he sees a hole in the roster?
He gonna fill it.
If you're gonna fill that hole, Dusty, of a high level score alpha guard in your backcourt, lead into the sibling rivalry and go get Jeremiah Fears. Like this would be among my least favorite landing spots for him.
Yeah, the Michigan thing still, to me, he's not going to end up in Michigan, but to me, that's by far the best fit, truly. Yeah, the issue for me with USC compared to Kentucky, I like that comp. Kentucky has shooters everywhere in theory. They're missing like the dynamic scorer in the backcourt. USC doesn't. Like Des Claude can't shoot. So Des Claude doesn't work if the ball's not in his hands. Jeremiah Fears
Right.
wants the ball in his hands. I think that'd be a disaster for everyone. And also, there are teams, I mentioned this in the Kentucky video. There are teams whose players I think commit to a program for various reasons, but everyone on Kentucky to me seems like they just want to rock the Kentucky blue. I don't think there's a lot of selfishness going on with the way Mark Pope has built his roster. And two of their best players, maybe their two best players, Kobe Bryant and Jackson Robinson, came off the bench last year. So I think you could navigate a late ad with a guy who like demands the basketball there a lot easier than you could at USC, where Des Claude and St. Thomas definitely committed thinking like I'm the superstar here.
Yeah.
Now Muss also is a guy who like is just going to add people and figure it out. But I would be very afraid if I'm Jeremiah Fears or Jeremiah Fears' family. Does he not become Keon Menafield 2.0 if he becomes the late ad on this roster and he probably gets overlooked? And then a year from now, we're doing the portal again. Like, that would scare me. I would really advise they avoid this situation. With that said, I'm happy for Jeremiah. He gets to tweet these offers out. Like, what do you think's going through his head? Because I know more schools than this have called him. We know Providence and Oklahoma have reached out. We think Michigan has at least called him, but he's only tweeting about Kentucky and USC. What does that mean?
Honestly, after the one interview we did with him and listening to him kind of give Jeremy a hard time, maybe he just likes to stir the pot and probably relishes in some of the chaos that it causes by just tweeting out the logo.
He's such an Illinois player at heart, man. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Also, credit to him in the interview with us. He had a pretty good poker face. Like, we threw him like an Illinois or Michigan State question, and he was like, Illinois, Illinois. But like, he had
he
to have known he was leaving.
he really gassed up Illinois and their facilities. And that's why it caught me off guard when I saw the decommitment news.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. Do you have any sort of pulse on where you think he'll go?
I guess I'll go with Kentucky just because like they actually got a little context in his tweet about them where it said just got off the phone with Mark Pope, whereas we don't know what's going on with USC. And again, like for your sake, I would love to see him in Michigan. I think he would be the perfect addition to the backcourt that can play alongside both Trey Donaldson and Roddy Gale. I really like his fit next to Trey Donaldson. I think the rivalry with Michigan State, the rivalry with you and Carter would be good for the on-court product and our content. At the same time, that Kentucky fit is very enticing as well. And I think like, we mentioned our critique for the Cats all offseason was the level of talent they're bringing in. However, you have someone like Otega Owe who is was productive last year on a half decent team. I know they didn't make the tournament, but you have Lamont Butler who's been to a national championship game. You have Kobe Brea who's been on tournament teams. Like those guys, theoretically, like you were mentioning, seem to be lower ego type players that could maybe ease some of the adjustment coming in because reclass guards have such a mixed history. And I know I said I'm a huge Jeremiah Fears fan as far as his game and his ability to score. But I still think going into that infrastructure where you have these veterans who could sort of set the tone. And even I know we've criticized Mark Pope, but the man can coach offense. Like if you look at
Yeah.
his track record, the dude had Utah Valley as like a top 50 offense back in the day. The man knows what he's doing on that. Like he will put him in a position to succeed.
Yeah, you're right. I Here's my read. I don't have any actual intel on this. Carter's not here. Carter's normally the one who has Fears intel. Okay. So this is not, I haven't even talked to Cart in 5 days. He's been in California. I read the situation as this. Number one, Jeremiah is not a drama stirrer, even though it seemed like all his moves publicly right now seem like he is. I don't think he is. I think this kid is like a heads down. I just love basketball. I want to play basketball. Let me go somewhere where I can play basketball and get the basketball in my hands. I already graduated high school. What am I waiting for? I want to hoop, 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 hoop. Since decommitting, all he's been doing is playing basketball. He was at a pro-am in Chicago, I think, and then he was at whatever this event was over the weekend. And like nightly, this kid's going for 30 plus points. He's just a hooper through and through. Hooper, head down. Let me hoop. I'll figure out where I'm going, but let me go somewhere I can hoop. while that's happening, I think my read on this, I think they're very underwhelmed with what options they have in the 24 class. I think they thought they were going to decommit or reclassify and like everyone was going to call. And I think in reality, like he's probably gotten USC and Kentucky phone calls, and those have probably been offers. But also, I would guess Kentucky probably said, like, hey, you can come, but we're not promising shit. And USC probably is like, oh, you're our everything. But I think the family's smart enough to sniff that out and be like, this is a bad situation. So that leaves you with whatever Oklahoma and Providence are telling you. You haven't even tweeted out about those because you're probably not that interested in them. And who knows if Oklahoma or Providence are even promising what they want to be promised. So I'm gonna call my shot here, Riley. I haven't heard anybody else say this, and like I said, I have no intel on this whatsoever. Given the way the last 5 days have played out, though, this is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to reclassify back into 25. I think we're going to reclassify. I think we are going to declassify ourselves here. And I think it's the smart move. If it somehow goes that path, I think if he reopens his recruitment in that class instead, a lot of the offers he wants to see flowing in for 24 will probably be there. And you can actually make a smart, patient decision that lands you in a good situation. I hope that happens. Again, I have no intel to that being the reason why, but the more I get just like ominous USC logo tweets from Jeremiah, the more it leads me to believe they're not loving where this is headed.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I love you calling your shot, standing on business, saying it's going to happen. I still say he stays in 2024, but I think he ends up at Kentucky.
That would be a good landing spot as well. Good luck to Jeremiah Fears. And I don't know how, like, I want to say the many schools recruiting him. I don't know if only two schools are recruiting him. I have no idea right now.